Hello, how are you? I hope all is well. Tiffany Montgomery here. Welcome to my world. Come on in, come on in. Anyway, I'm here to have a conversation with you all that is going to be incredibly important. I'm going to tell you the whole story about what happened to me when I was in Chicago for a brief period of time. I'm going to tell you everything that happened. Man, I wish my hair was done today. That would have been swell. You set me up here. Anyway, I'm going to tell that entire story. It's necessary. It needs to be said, and I'm okay with doing that. Before I get into the story, I wanted to answer some of your questions because I know that a lot of us, don't know a lot what's going on, and I just want to answer some questions. So before we get started, a lot of people, and I'm going to tell you the entire story, so you'll get a gist of what's going on. But a lot of people may ask, well, why now? Why do you decide to talk after 2 years? And I want to say to people that have that question is, I think ultimately, if I waited 20 years, it was still okay for me to share a story that I had experienced firsthand. I don't think that you all get to dictate when somebody shares a very traumatic experience or any level of abuse, be it sexual, financial, spiritual, any emotional, mental, physical abuse. I don't think that you all get the right to dictate that. So why now? Ultimately, because I can. But secondly, I believe that God wanted me to heal from the experience. While I was sheep during that experience, I am a leader now, and I believe that ultimately all things work together for our good. She said in the church, again, when I sent her the dream, she said a red flag went up to her because a single woman should not be having a dream about a married couple in the church. Now, I have not read all 66 books of the Bible. I don't know. It could have been right, but all I know is it didn't sound right to me. Number 3, I asked her if me joining the prophetic team was going to be too much on my plate. She said no, it was going to be good for me. Number 4, I told her that the guy told me that he was interested in me, and I asked her what her thoughts were, and she said that she didn't know much about him, but that he was a good father to his daughter, and I should just get to know him. I want to say that one more time. I told her that he was interested in me, but I was not attracted to him. And she said, I don't know much about him, but that he was a good father to his daughter and that I should give him a chance to know him. That is really important for y'all to know. May 11th is the actual day of the prophetic evaluation, 2017. May 11th, 2017. So around this time, there was somebody I knew whose boyfriend shot her in the head in her home and killed himself in the driveway. And her children were in the house. Her mom was in the house. It was really bad. It happened around that day or maybe the day after. So not only was I incredibly sad and not able to get out of my bed, but I was also fasting and praying because she was still on life support at the time. And the prophetic evaluation started at, I think, about 5 or 6, and I wasn't going to go, but my sister wanted me to make sure that I got out of the bed to go to this actual evaluation. And she was like, you gave them your word, you should go, just get out of the house, and I need you to do that. So I went to the prophetic evaluation, super sad, don't really even want to be there. I'm sitting in the audience, and I'm like, something's wrong here. I don't think I'm supposed to be there. So I text the girl that works right up under the chief prophetess, and I text her and I said, hey, is my name on the list? And she responds via text and says, hey, yes, you're almost up. That was her response back. I said, thank you. And she said, you're welcome. Now, the reason that's important is because if my name wasn't on the list, I would have left. When it's my turn, I was the last to be called up. I prophesied. They asked me how important a prayer life to a believer is. I told them, and I told them exactly that it's as important as breathing, period. And then I prophesied to the prophets, and it was over, and I went home. On May 13th, I get a phone call from Abby, and she lets me know that it was said that I was told not to be there. Now, this is when all the false accusation come on. This is when everything happens. She says, hey, I was told that you were told not to be there. I explained to her that this had to have been a mistake. I told her the entire story of the man who said that he was interested in me, inviting me to come. She said that the man that was interested in me told her that he never told me that. and that he told me that if I wanted to come, I should ask either her or the head intercessor. Those two people. I said, well, that doesn't make sense because both of you are my friends. And if I knew I was supposed to do that, I would have called you. It wasn't that serious. I didn't want to be on the team in the first place. I then asked for a meeting that day. I said I would like to have a meeting, and this has to be a big mistake. And she assured me that they'd figure everything out and wouldn't make a decision until after the meeting. Well, the meeting is the week after Mother's Day, May 21st. May 18th, because she told me she wasn't going to make a decision until after the meeting. May 18th, I get an email saying that I was not chosen to be a part of the prophetic team because I was told that a decision would not be made until the meeting, So I texted her and I said, hey, I'm just wondering why you all made a decision when you would just promise me that you wouldn't make a decision because of that. And I told her I need the proper plans, processes, and procedures of this church because I'm getting in trouble about things that I should not be getting in trouble at. Well, she rebuked me for asking her for proper plans, systems, and processes. I have the text to prove it. She rebuked me for it, told me that she was a chief prophetess of the house and that I should not question her about anything. And I said, well, I'm getting in trouble. So how else do I do this? I mean, you are my friend. You of all people know that if he told me that I should ask you all, I would have asked you all because y'all were my friends. So anyway, May 21st is the meeting. I meet with the big guy. Remember the big guy that he went to go ask? I meet with him that he says he's interested in me. The first lady is in the meeting. The chief prophetess is in the meeting. And we have this discussion. They tell me that I was not chosen to be a part of the prophetic team because I operate out of a Jezebelic spirit, that I am controlling, that I am manipulative, and that I'm a liar. Now, I don't know about you, but I understand nonviolent communication. So I do a lot of talking with my mouth closed, hands like this, just to make sure that nobody is taking me as volatile at the time. So I listened to everything everybody had to say. I addressed it because I had as many notes as I do today. And what the first lady said was, oh, I know what the problem is. The problem is you're not used to being in a room full of people that are smarter than you. And I said, the fact that you think that I think that y'all are smarter than me is the real issue here. Well, Abby breaks up the monotony of that conversation. And she says to me, and Tiffany, I just want to let you know that as soon as I hung up, I called the guy that said he was interested in you. And I told him that you told me that y'all was in a relationship together. I said, well, you told him what now? You said that I said that I was in a relationship with a man that I had told not only you, but the first lady, the intercessor, and anybody else that asked me that he was not attractive and I didn't like him. You called him when we hung up and said to him that I said we were in a relationship together? My God. Because I was like, just the fact that y'all didn't feel like I could have pulled nobody better is my issue. Like, I don't struggle for no man. I just want y'all to know that. He goes on to say how I'm a liar. He did not tell me to come to the meeting. And I was like, well, let the record reflect that y'all got a lying prophet in your midst. Apparently 2 of them right now. I did not say any of that. She also said, you snuck into the deliverance class. I spoke to the head person of that, and he said he never approved you being in the deliverance class. I said, wait, what? What? I'm in a meeting like this. What? Wait, I didn't want to be in the class. I don't want to be in your classes. I didn't ask to be in the class. Why is he? So I'm texting the person because service is still going on upstairs. I'm texting the person and I'm saying, hey, can you come down here? They are saying that you said I should not be in the class. They are already saying that I am controlling, rebellious. They have called me Jezebel in this meeting. The lady done called this guy and said as soon as she hung up with me, she told me she didn't know him, to give him a chance. And then when you hung up with me, she called him and said, Tiffany told me y'all are in a relationship together. So there's a whole lot of lying going on in here. Can you come downstairs? Apparently she don't get the text messages till it's over, but assured me that she reached out to them and told them that she was the one that got me in the class. But that's what was said. That's what she said. She said, and you snuck into the class and you weren't supposed to be there. So what they were trying to paint the picture of is now I was all of these things, but I was also a prophet who was trying to merge her way in to the system and the structures of this church, which was not true. It just wasn't true. So on May 22nd, I do a Periscope called Do Not Be Moved. Don't Be Moved. It was amazing teaching, if you ask me, of 5 points on how not to be moved when you're being falsely accused. I didn't use anybody's name. This is actually the first time I have really done the most on a post about this whole situation. And on May 23rd, 2017, I get a call from the First Lady, who had been my friend for a year. And she states that, hey, I'm just calling you because all of the people in our network are calling us, asking us what's going on with our church. And I said, well, that's not possible because I never mentioned your church. So unless you have told anybody what's going on with you and I, nobody in my outside world knows. And I said, well, Abby may have watched the live and said something to you, but the network did not watch the live and they didn't say anything to you. On May 24th, let's see. Okay, so on May 23rd, the First Lady also lets me know that I operate in a Jezebel spirit. She told me that there was no hope for me on a conversation. I had my sister on three-way with this conversation, so my sister heard all of it. I wasn't able to record that specific conversation, but my sister was on three-way about the whole conversation. She told me that there was no hope for me, that I did not listen to leadership, that I was a Jezebelic spirit, and what the First Lady said to me, who was a friend of mine, what she said was, everything your hands touch is going to fail. Now, I'm dumbfounded. I don't really know what's even going on here. You were my friend. So I'm not even sure how you have taken a year-long friendship, and I've only been here at the time for, this is May now, 5 months, and I'm wondering what the problem is. We're almost finished with this entire story, y'all. This all happened in 2017, Jen. Ain't nothing happened in 18, 19, nothing happened. So I'm giving you a 5-month story. And so after she called me all of that, and I didn't know what any of that meant. I'm, again, sheep, new to church, just got saved a few months prior. I don't know much, but I do know that this is bad. I share it with a friend of mine who then said, I'm going to schedule you to get a deliverance right now because those were word curses from senior leadership. And you have to go get deliverance for those darts to be taken out of your back. So he schedules me a midnight appointment with 2 deliverance workers who they had also done dirty. And the husband tells me, go ahead and take that live down. And I said, well, if you say I should take the live down, that was called Do Not Be Moved, I'll take it down. He said, I think what you did was not wrong. I think it was right. But I just want to say that you don't need any additional warfare to you, even if what they're doing is wrong. And I said, well, maybe if I tell the First Lady and the apostle what's going on with the chief prophetess, everything will make sense. They warned me against it. They said, have you ever told a woman that her husband was cheating on her? I said, and he said, what happens? I said, everybody stops talking to you. And they said, yes, because they have been friends with her longer than they have been friends with you. Do not tell it. Don't tell it. Don't say nothing. So I took their advice. I didn't say anything. I took down the scope and I called the First Lady May 24th around 6 a.m. I apologized if I hurt her in any way. Why did I apologize? Because I don't have bad intentions. I had no a desire to be antagonistic or to fight. I really didn't know what was going on. And I didn't want to hurt nobody. I just really wanted to live saved. So I texted her and I texted Abby and I apologized if I hurt her in any way. On May 26, 2017, I posted my flyer for Millions Conference Atlanta. For Millions Conference Atlanta, 3 of the people that go to that church were on my my flyer. One of the people live in California, the other one in Richmond, Virginia, and the other one teaches entrepreneurship and relationship advice. They were all on my flyer. I post my flyer. I think all is well. I get an email from the church in California who says, hey, he's no longer able to be a part of your conference. And I said, okay, no worries. I didn't have a relationship with him. Thank you for letting me know. I get a phone call from the church in Richmond, Virginia, who was a friend of mine. Him and his wife. His wife has been to my home in Raleigh to spend time with me. We all were like, cool. And he says, hey, like, what is going on? Apostle told me I had to come off of your conference. And I was like, well, it has to be some big mistake. I just apologized to everybody. I made amends. I don't really know what the beef is. I'm being lied on right now. I don't know what's going on. Like, I have no idea what's going on. I said, this has to be some big mistake. And he said, well, he told me that he was working on you with a few things. And I said, well, they're not working on me with anything. Nobody said anything to me. So then the other guy who's an entrepreneur and has the relationship advice calls me and said, hey, woman of God, oh man, I don't know what's going on, but I got to come off your conference. And I was like, why? And he was like, because Apostle told me to come off your conference. And I was like, well, what did I do wrong? You know, I didn't do anything wrong. He was like, I know. He shared with me his testimony of what went wrong with him in the church and how he came back. And his advice to me was just sit it out. Just be quiet for a season. He'll come back around. And I said, I think you're a coward. Then the pastor in Richmond, he knew what was up. I told him the entire story. And what he said to me was, I know what's going on. The chief prophetess is incredibly jealous of what the intercessor and relationship y'all got. And now you're in the middle of a war that was going on way before you got there. And I said, that's exactly what's happening. I'm so glad that you finally understand what's going on. Now, I need you all to understand that although the intercessor is my friend, I did not tell her any of this. I did not tell her any of this. So since I was told in January 2017 not to be her friend, I didn't tell her any of this until around May or June when I was already out of the church. Why? I didn't want to hurt her feelings. I did not want to embarrass her because of what was said to me about her. And I felt like we could all pray and smooth it all out. Like, I just didn't feel like any of that was necessary. So now everybody's coming off of my conference. And I said, well, this has to be some type of big mistake. On May 29th, I called the office and I requested a meeting with the apostle of the church. Many of you have asked me, hey, Tiphanie, have you requested a meeting? On May 29th, I have email. I don't know what else y'all want from me. I'm a sheep in the church. I just got saved. I don't know what else to do. All I know is if you have an ought with somebody, surely you should tell me what I'm doing wrong because you are my covering. You are supposed to be telling me what I'm doing wrong so that I can fix it. So maybe this is a mistake. I called to the office. I request a meeting to see why he has done this. Okay. I'm wondering to God, why is this happening to me? Now, you have to understand, Tiphanie, this isn't really a big deal. You know what I'm saying? Like, what you went through was light. My father had like a month to live. That was very traumatic for me. I was in a city that I didn't want to be in because I really love Raleigh, North Carolina. My support system was scattered all over the place because I'm used to everybody living in my city and supporting me. I'm trying to handle this in as much integrity and character as possible. So I'm not sharing it with anybody. So nobody's holding this burden with me except for myself. I am fasting, I'm praying, but this was incredibly devastating for me just emotionally because of what I was going through in my personal life. I'm asking God, why is this happening to me? What did I do wrong? The next service I go to, I'm still waiting on my response about a meeting. Instead of a preaching, because I asked God what was going on, I asked God to literally reveal to me what was happening so I could fix it. And God said, watch what happens today and Sunday. I go to church on Sunday. I'm thinking he's going to preach, but it's a panel. Y'all can watch it if they have not taken it down. It's called the Lust Series. And he had a panel of people telling their stories. They told their stories about how God had delivered them from lust. The chief prophetess tells her story. This is on camera. This ain't nothing she told me in private. This is public information if it's on YouTube. She says that 10 years ago, she was on assignment from hell to go into churches and to sleep with the husbands and to break godly covenants. I said, my God, that is exactly what that woman is. She has not been delivered from what she's gone through. She is still functioning according to what hell called her to function into. All of that is that. Again, anybody asking for name, it's biblical to name names. Paul did it. I'm not doing it. God didn't call me to release a name. I'm not moving outside of the boundary that God gave me for this live. I'm with you. I would want to know names too. But if this doesn't really concern you and you're just here listening to the story, shut up and just listen to the story. For those, because my whole goal of telling this story is to warn you about whatever is going on there so y'all can go ahead and get on out. If this doesn't apply to you, that's cool. But I am not moving out of the boundary and the safety that God gave me to share this message, which was share the message, but I'm not sharing any names. There is a boundary of safety when you obey God, and that's what I'm going to do. I have the right to name names, but I'm making the decision not to because I don't want to. We sat at that lust series, and I stared at her when she said that. It's the video is still there. I don't know if it's on YouTube still, but it's called the Lust series. And it was out there, okay, 2017. She said she was on assignment from hell to go into ministries and to sleep with the husbands to break godly covenants. I said that is exactly what that woman has been and is currently operating in. She is the person that's behind the ministry, but she makes all of the rules. What the apostle also made sure he let me know, because I was still under the impression that I was going to be able to talk to him about what was going on and tell him the truth. What he said from the microphone that day was, she's getting ready, the chief is getting ready to tell her story, and I just want you to know that this is a woman full of integrity. And this is the one I ordained 10 years ago. She is my firstborn prophet, which was letting me know that nothing I could say about her was going to make them any difference. So I was fine with that. But that is what he said from the pulpit, and he was speaking directly to me. On May 30th, I go to Bible study, me and my daughter. Now, the Holy Ghost says to me, don't sit in that second row. And I said, okay, I'm not going to sit in the second row. You may say, Tiffany, why are you still going? I wanted my meeting because I thought this was a bigger misunderstanding. You should not sit in the second row. I sit in the third row this day, which was for the public. Security comes to get me and my daughter, and they said, hey, we got word that you're not allowed to sit in the first 5 rows of the church. He apologizes to me for having to do this. This man is also currently not at the church, but he apologizes to me for having to do this and tells me how much he respects me and how I've always been a woman of integrity to him. Obviously, I was completely blown away. My daughter and I got up. I moved my seat because the humble can't be humiliated. So it is what it is. I wanted to maintain my honor, or whatever I thought at the time that meant. And I went and sat in the 5th row with my daughter. I still gave my tithe. Many of you may say, I don't think that they slept with each other. That's just my opinion. But I couldn't believe it. I still gave my tithe. And the reason why I still gave my tithe is because I knew that this whole thing was against my heart for the church. And I wanted to make sure that I wasn't giving tithe dependent on if somebody pissed me off or not. I was giving my tithe because I understood the promise of God over my life concerning my money. And so I still gave my tithe that month, which was that day, which was a few strong $1,000. You know what I'm saying? And I worship. I think one thing I want to note is the man that said he was interested in me, when they were up there praying, they were praying against me. They were praying that Jezebel dies. They were praying that we kill Jezebel. We declare war on Jezebel. They're talking to me. Okay, I'm just sitting there. Now, God has given me a vision. I got fire, flames of fire all around me. Like I am fully protected. Like darts are just falling to the ground. You can't touch me. It's not possible because I'm in right standing with God and I did nothing wrong. And I maintained integrity the entire time by not telling anybody anything. The man that said he was interested in me gets on the stage. He starts to pray. I command all liars to. I said, Father, let his tongue cleave to the roof of his mouth. Normally, they pray for 3 minutes apiece. His prayer lasted for 10 seconds. Why? Because you can't call out a liar and continue to lie. Period, point blank. On May 31st, my meeting with the apostle that I did according to the instructions of Matthew 18 was declined. I sent back an email and I said, thank you for your time here at this ministry. I would no longer like to be a member. Even though all of that happened to me, I still left honorably. I still left under the instructions of Matthew 18. I still wanted to make sure that I did all of that. I was out of there by the end of May. So that's just a 5-month story, y'all. I was out of there by the end of May. I kept it to myself. Over the summer, my childhood friend calls me. He's mad. This is the guy I've grown up with since the 7th grade. He knows me better than a whole lot of people. He knows my character. I have really been the same and consistent all of my life. And he calls me and says, I am so angry that you did not tell me what was going on with you. And I said, well, I did not want to compromise your relationship with your pastor because I didn't know what was going on. I did not want to bring you into a war that I was not aware of. So I'm still trying to make sure that I'm covering people and protecting people because I don't want people to join into something that I don't know what's happening. He then shares with me how the apostle has tried to kill his own marriage, how he's trying to break them apart. He also shares with me how his best friend is also under the spell. All of this is very important. And I say to him, man, that's crazy. And he says, I have your back. He also shares with me how there were a husband and wife that he loves and that are friends with him moved back to California after they were beaten up in that ministry. And so he says that he knows I'm not lying. My story sounds exactly the same as a whole bunch of other people's stories. And Tiffany, we're covering you in prayer. Thank you. I moved back to North Carolina, August 2017. So this whole time, you guys, I'm still doing periscopes. I'm still talking. I'm still doing all of that. None of you have heard anything about me saying anything about the ministry. I'm getting emails from people that are asking me, Tiffany, should we still come to the ministry? I'm thinking about flying there. Now, I have used my platform to have a whole lot of people come to this ministry, right? And I don't know what to do now because I'm like, Father, I don't want to defame the ministry. I want to allow people to do what they want to do. But I also know that they tried to kill me in there. Like there are people that have left that ministry right now and are in counseling. Like your mind, something happens to it while you're in there. I can't explain it. But something happens. And I said, God, I can't send nobody else there. What do I do? And he gave me the scripture. I didn't even write it down, but it's in Ezekiel. He said, you are in a rebellious house. I want you to leave during the day so that they can see that you're in a rebellious house. So I sent, Timothy, Periscope is still a thing. And Millions Conference is thriving because of Periscope. And I make over $100,000 in my month because of Periscope. So while Periscope might not be a thing, it's one to me. Okay. So I go and I do a Periscope called Moving On. I share with everybody that my experience wasn't the best there. That's all I said. It's still up. You can go watch it. And I say, however, you all can still come. I moved back to North Carolina. He gets on Periscope the next day and he does a live called, what is it called? The Insanity of Women in Ministry, something like that. Now, I'm not following up at the time. I don't know anything. I don't see anything. All of these people have come off of my conference. I'm thinking my conference is going to be a disaster. I don't even know what I've done wrong. I'm incredibly sad. I'm like, I don't even want to have a conference. This wasn't even my idea. Father, did you call me to do this? Are you not protecting me? Because what they were saying was, well, our apostle is assigned to protect us. So he sees in the future more than we do. So he must see an impending danger. And I'm like, God, did you not tell me about the impending danger? Why is nobody telling me about the danger? So I'm incredibly sad. Nobody took my meeting, all of that. The apostle does a Periscope the next day called The Insanity of whatever it was called. And I get two calls. One is from a man that still goes to the church. Lunatics in the Church. The live is called Lunatics in the Church. That is what it was called. It was all about me. He did a live called Lunatics in the Church. There was a man that still goes to the church that texted me and said, Tiffany, Apostle is on this live talking about you. Apostle is in this live. Sheikah, they real corny. You know what I'm saying? But we definitely weren't built like them. I'm not from the church. Neither were you. And it is what it is. I'm telling the story for everybody who needs to hear the warning can hear it. But y'all definitely clean and corny. Okay. And then I have a cousin of mine who does not know I don't go to the church anymore, who shoots me a text and say, I think your pastor's talking about you. I get on the live. Why? I'm not afraid of confrontation. One of the mandates on my life as an apostolic prophet is confrontation. Maybe you're not called to confront systems and structures. I am, unfortunately. It's not a fun thing to do, but it is what it is. I've been doing this since I was a very little girl. So I get on the live. He's saying things like, you have these women that post conferences and takes really pretty pictures and really great at branding, but they have mental illness on one side of their family. They have a loss of a parent on the other side of the family. You have multiple abortions and multiple children with different fathers. You move from one city to go to another city just for church. Sounds like you're talking about me. You should go to therapy. And so what I typed in the comments was, we should take our own advice. You guys can go watch the comments. That's what I said. For those of you that are like, well, I don't like how you did it. I didn't feel like you should have went over into his territory. I would like to have a caveat here. Anywhere you see in the Bible, you did not see that God brought the fight to them. God told them to go out to the fight. I'll give you an example. 2 Kings 9. Jehu was anointed for the work. Why? Because the prophets didn't really have the balls to do it. They were too afraid. God anointed Jehu to do it and told him to go to Ahab's house and just get rid of all of them. The Bible says that Ahab went towards them like a madman. So for those of you that would assume that I'm operating out of my flesh and out of carnality, I'm actually being a lot nicer than the people in the Bible did. And when David came home from war and realized that his wives, more than one, and his children were missing because they had kidnapped him, he asked God what he should do. God told him that he needed to pursue, and without fail, he was going to go ahead and recover all. He needed to leave the land that he was on, and he needed to go over to the enemy's camp. Same thing happened in 2 Kings chapter 3 with Jehoshaphat and Jeroham. They had to go to the enemy's camp. Same thing happened to 2 Chronicles 20 when Jehoshaphat was getting ready to be hurt by Moab, and they said to him, you're going to still have to go to the fight, but this battle is not yours, it's mine. So for any of you that continue to say to me, you should not have gone on his live, shame on you for not knowing anything about the Bible, anything about battles, and anything about warfare. What he should have done was what you all keep telling me to do in Matthew 18, which was the instructions of meeting with me one-on-one. If I was not able to listen, go with a witness. If I wasn't able to listen to that, take it to the church. He did not do that. He did not have the balls to meet with me. And so he took it to the church. And what he did was he exposed things that I had shared with him privately. I want you all to know that I waited 4 hours before I responded back to that post. Why? I am a woman of great accountability. I had called a few people, a few strong prophets, to ask me if I should do it. I called my friend who's the intercessor. She is still my friend to this day. She said, please don't do it. I'm asking you not to do it. I said, friend, I'm doing it. Okay, I'll call you back. Then I call the guy that I grew up with in Rochester, New York. I called his wife. Why did I call his wife? I know historically she wasn't too fond of me. And I also knew that she had the Holy Ghost. So with the idea that you're not too fond of me and you have the Holy Ghost, I had somebody to give me advice that was not going to be biased. I had somebody that was going to give me advice, was going to give me true advice of that. Not only did she say you should do the live, but what she said was add these 15 notes to the live because he is wicked. That is what she said. I added them to my notes. Thank you, girl. This is good. I speak in tongues. I go in my prayer room. I pray for maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours straight. Because I know, like, I'm bothered. I'm already triggered by it all. It's like ripping a Band-Aid off of something that happened in May. And I'm like, why would he do all that? I'm angry. I really want to fight. People are like, Tiffany, that must have taken a lot of courage for you to do. It took me the courage to not say nothing, what I really wanted to say. I do my live. I share all of it. And that's what happens. That's what you all saw. Now, the reason why I think that the story of my friend in Rochester was pivotal is because I needed you to understand. Listen to me very carefully. Please don't go anywhere because I'm going to tell you, maybe this story will help you understand the minds of the people. I share with you the entire story of my old friend from Rochester, New York. I found out that he had a meeting with his apostle and said to him and his wife, we have been trying to help Tiffany. She's only trying to use this church hurt platform to build her own platform. You shouldn't trust her. You also shouldn't trust the intercessor here because she's friends with her. Why would she be friends with her when she's at war with you? My God. My friends, since the 7th grade. My friend since the 7th grade said that. I have the proof of what I sent as a message. Hey, I just want to remind you that out of integrity and character, I never told you what was happening to me, because this story, as you all can see, is incredibly exhausting. It's not fun to share the story all the time. It's not fun to go through this all the time, because the story is as confusing and stupid as it is true. And so I said to him, and I texted him and his wife, and I said, I'm on the phone with a text message because I would read them to you. And I said, you are wicked people and you are opportunistic. At the time, they were hoping to get a church up under that ministry, and they used me as ploy to try to get that church by coming out of me. And I said, please don't play with me, because I ain't been saved but since yesterday. I'm trying to hold on. I'm really more saved than everybody there, to keep it real with you. And I was like, but you told me that your best friend was in the cult because he got the tattoo. Your wife told me what to say against everybody. Now, all of a sudden, you have something to say about me like that? And he was like, you need to watch yourself. We have forgiven him. You need to forgive him too. And I was like, y'all are crazy. Let's fast forward to the pastor in Baltimore, who is also friends with Abby, who also operates heavily in the Jezebelic spirit as well, and Leviathan. What did she do? So my friends, I had 2 of my friends go to the church in Baltimore. 2 of my friends went to the church in Baltimore. I was very candid with that woman. Friend, I'm going to be candid, okay? I was very candid with her. At the time, me and my friend had fallen out a little bit. And so when she was moving to Baltimore, I told the pastor of the Baltimore church, I said, my best friend is moving to Baltimore. Her and I aren't really talking like that no more, but can you please take care of her? I said, she's really good in administration. Please get deliverance, train her in deliverance. She's going to be real good in that. Get her daughter saved. And the youngest one and the middle one, they prophets. So please get them trained up. Do y'all know, after all of this happened, because my best friend left the church, she was at my house one day when the pastor of Baltimore called her, texted her. She said, hey, haven't seen you in a while. Just checking on you, see what's going on. Best friend says, I just want to let you know that I didn't like what was going on between you and Tiphanie. I've known Tiphanie really for 20 years now. And even though we had fallen out, us falling out was my fault, was her fault, is what she said. It wasn't Tiffany's fault. What the pastor in Baltimore said next via text message is, Tiphanie never liked you anyway. Tiphanie talked about you like a dog to me anyway. What? You sent me recording of my 5-year-old niece at the time speaking in tongues, because what you said to me was, I know you have labored in prayer for them and you need to reap the fruit of your benefit and what you did with that family. And I said, thank you, and wept, because I was so happy that my friend was getting saved. That's what she told her. My friend. I never said that. I never said it. I never said it. I never said it. Darren, stop being dumb. You know what I meant. God delivers everybody, but he uses us as vehicles and instruments to operate in the area of deliverance. So don't be stupid. Like, don't do that in here. Like, chill. You know what I'm saying? So what did I do? I sent her a message and I said, listen, I want you to tread very lightly. Also, I said 2 friends went. The other friend of mine who is on here right now, and she said to her, now this is my friend, I told her to go there. She says to her, I need you to armor bear for me during Tiffany's conference. I need you to armor bear for me during Tiffany's conference. And she said, I can't. Everybody's coming off of Tiffany's conference. I need to go and support her. She was like, well, I'm your leader. You need to listen to me. I'm your leader and you need to listen to me. And so she's like, I can't, I gotta go. And she was like, you wouldn't know a snake if you saw one. And when I spoke to my friend on the phone, I said, you know that, you know what my opinion is of everything. You know what her opinion is of everything. Have you asked God? have you asked God what his opinion was? And she was like, no, I haven't asked God yet. And I said, okay, let me know when you do. So she did. I also sent the apostle in Baltimore, Maryland, a text message because she wouldn't answer my phone calls. And I said to her, tread lightly. You are a very messy apostle. All you do is talk about the people at the church in Richmond, Virginia, because you guys are in close proximity and you all are fighting over members. Now, all of a sudden, you guys are friends. And now because you're telling them not to talk to me, they've listened to you. You think you're playing with it. I said, but I'm not playing with y'all. I'm not no leader in the church. You're not going to hold me to a standard that you took me off of. And I said, I will expose you on social media. I'm not above any of that. Don't play with me and don't post nothing else subliminal about me ever again in your life. And she stopped. And she stopped. And she stopped. So let me just go towards, I don't know what else to say to y'all. That's really what happened. They tried to blackball me. They told me that they tried to blackball me from everything. They told everybody to stop working with me. They told everybody not to talk to me. You have leaders right now. They closed all doors to me. They made sure that that just nothing was available, right? So we get to the conference of Atlanta, Millions Conference, right? Now, I want you to understand, you see that this is a story that's not really about me. This was about me not allowing the chief prophetess of that church to tell me who I could and couldn't be friends with. They came after me because the war was really against the intercessor of the house, who is currently still one of my best friends on this earth. The war was never about me. It was because I did not succumb to the bullying of them telling me who I could and couldn't be friends with. Violet, that's really, what I was saying. So they came after me because I wouldn't drop her, and they came after her because she wouldn't drop me. We go to Atlanta Millions Conference. It is packed. I'm weeping because I did not expect anybody to show up at that conference. I didn't think anybody was going to come. I thought I was going to get in trouble by God, because that's the spirit of intimidation. Whenever you speak out against something, a spirit of fear may come over you, and all of that. And so then I'm sitting in the front row, me and my friend, the intercessor, who is a best friend of mine. She opens up in prayer. And the moment she sits down, she receives a text message from from the chief prophetess that said that we were praying against that conference, and you get up and pray on the stage. The apostle also texts her and says, you're now fired off of the intercessors team. What she responded back was, are these people still not souls? Are these people still not wrong? How do you drop Tiphanie and she didn't even do anything wrong? She was fired on the spot. And I want to say this, every church that in that network took her off of their program. The church in Richmond, Virginia asked her to come and pray and speak. They took her off. Every church that she was assigned to speak in her own network took her off because she was still friends with me. She was still friends with me. And they barred me because I was still friends with her. Understand what happened here. It was really an attack on a godly covenant relationship, because her and I do much more together for the kingdom of God than we would have ever done apart. And so that's what that really is about. Okay, so what are some things that I've noticed or discerned and what God revealed to me? I stopped doing all of my periscopes while I was a part of that ministry because there's a spirit that comes to silence you and your influence. I'm sorry, Richmond, Virginia kept her. I'm sorry about that mess up. Richmond, Virginia kept her. It was the other churches that dropped her and said, hey, we just changed our mind here. I repeat. Richmond, Virginia kept her. Please note that. I'm sorry for that inaccuracy. Richmond, Virginia kept her. It was the pastor in Baltimore that called the pastors in Richmond, Virginia and told them to take her off. That is where that's what I want to correct. Richmond, Virginia kept her, but the pastor in Baltimore called them and told her to take that off. Her and I both did not drop each other. So I hope that answers all of your questions about, Tiphanie, your friend still goes there. What about your friend? This was never about me. It all started because I stood up for my friend. I also had another friend of mine, one of my best friends, that I was like, hey, you should go to the church in Atlanta. She was the executive assistant at that church. What else happened to me at the church? Like, I became embarrassed of my favor. There was a lot of favor given to me. I became embarrassed of it. I didn't want it anymore. And that's just because I was starting to be talked about because of how much favor I had in the church. I also started to see sudden dread in my life in regards to always getting in trouble. So I'm in the church and I'm like, man, I really feel like I'm always getting in trouble here. What is the issue? I also started to second guess and third guess everything. So the spirit of double-mindedness had come upon me because I was just wondering what was going on. And I also had to keep all of this a secret because it is what it is. There was never any clear communication, instructions, or protocol. And I got in trouble whenever I asked for it. I did everything in honor. I did everything integrally. And I was tried to blackball. The reason why blackballing did not work with me is because, number one, I'm not like, I don't preach at nobody's church. So you can never blackball me because my customers aren't the church. I don't look at the church as customers. That's what the difference is between ministry and entrepreneurship. And that's why people get it wrong a lot. Some people look at people in the ministry as customers. I didn't. I don't make any money from ministry. 1,000% of my income comes from my business. And so you couldn't blackball me from something I never wanted. What I experienced was the inner working of a modern day cult. Make no mistake about it. Saying the word quit cult is not a word that I use ever. That was the first time in a ministry I have ever used the word cult. It was the inner working of a modern day cult. They dressed like him. They talked like him. When he had his hair a certain way, they all grew their hair a certain way. When he cut it, they all cut it. I asked the first lady and the chief prophetess, hey, I'm really just kind of curious as to why everybody looks alike. And they were like, oh, that's just their dad. They're doing this because they want to follow after their dad. And I was like, oh, okay. But I asked a lot of things. I asked a lot of things that were concerning to me. Hey, I'm noticing that a lot of people are gay and you have them in leadership. How does that work? And they're like, oh, well, we're working with them and all of that. And I said, oh, okay, cool. Amazing. Like, thank you. I just was curious. The second thing that I've discerned and what God has revealed to me is that they are people collectors. They have mastered the art of spiritually covering the wounded. That is why you've seen them all fly to meet with the pastor in South Carolina that's in the news a lot. They are people collectors. They master the art of spiritually covering the wounded. And they are famous for telling people, you belong here. They're famous for it. So if you're wondering why you see them collecting certain people here and there, it's because they collect people. I would also like to say that what I am saying is not a surprise to anybody that's a part of that ministry. Every leader knows what I'm talking about. Every leader that's still in there knows what I'm talking about. Every leader that has left knows what I'm talking about. Most of the sheep know what I'm talking about. However, there are those that are blind and they don't know what's happening here. Why haven't they left? It's a spirit of seduction. It's also a demonic soul tied to a system and a ministry and the person. They have made him an idol. He is their golden calf, and they can't break out of the system because they can't afford to. Many there rely on the system for their finances. And whenever you have made mammon your God, you cannot move because the money dictates what your decisions are. And so there's that as well. What are some of the lessons I learned? I made sure that I repented for idolatry because I too, apparently, I think it's clear, entered into some type of idolatry. You have to have entered into some type of idolatry when you stop listening to God when they tell you to, because I'm sorry that I forgot to mention that it was the chief prophetess that told me to stop listening to my dreams for a season. And I was like, well, how? I didn't want them no way. How do I stop listening to my dreams? Any suggestions, any tips how that can happen? So I literally stopped writing down my dreams, stopped listening to my dreams, all of that. That was idol because I now put somebody else's voice over God's voice. So I repented for idolizing a ministry. I repented for idolizing all of that. I also fasted and prayed. So when you say, Tiffany, how did you heal from this? I fasted and prayed. I spent that time with the Lord between May and August, fasting and praying. When many people know me and that's been following me know that I have a ministry of fasting and prayer. And I learned that ministry because of that warfare. And so I wanted to make sure that I did not have a stony heart, that I operated, out of a heart of flesh, that I wasn't angry about what happened. I consider myself incredibly healed in regards to what's happened to me. And I waited until I was. It's 2 years later. And so there's that. And I also learned that jealousy really is as cruel as the grave. They tried to take somebody like me because they then began to tell people she's not really a prophet. She's not who she says she is. And I'm like, well, I didn't call myself a prophet. You said it, and you can really take it back because I don't want it. It come with too many problems, and I enjoy living my quiet, good life. Okay, keep it. I don't want. Can I give it back? Who can I give it to? I don't want it. Okay, I don't want to know half the stuff God showed me. I'm not interested in it. And so, you had that. I think that's really all I had to say. There is a hazing process that takes place in that church. And if you are not a part of that hazing process, you are not invited into the club. Every leader knows what I'm talking about. You have the silent treatments. It's just a lot going on. It's a lot going on. Again, my intention on telling you this is because based off of Revelations, I understand that my people, God's people, are overcome by the blood of the Lamb and by the words of our testimonies. And I also am standing on Acts 18 verses 9 and 10. Then spake the Lord to Paul in the night by vision, be not afraid, but speak, and hold not your peace, for I am with you, and no man shall set on thee to hurt thee, for I have much people in this city. I also stand on the fact that I am a prophet of God, and I know that we enjoy using the scripture, touch not mine anointed and do my prophets no harm. But I would like for you to know that that also pertains to the little ones and the babes that God has called into ministry, and that has given us supernatural understanding, knowledge, and revelation. And just like Paul said in Galatians 1, no man revealed this to me except by revelation. The very thing that I went in there to learn is the very thing that they hid from me. And I learned everything by a revelation of Jesus Christ. Revelation of Jesus Christ. Revelation. Kiera has a great question. She says, if you're healed, then why are you bringing this up 2 years later? I want to answer your question because I think it's fascinating that anybody like you would put a time limit on anybody talking out against anybody. I think it's egregious. I think it's disgusting, especially that you're a woman. Imagine all the people who are sexually abused. I have not been in that church. Oh, I have a story about that as well. Have been sexually abused, and then they wait 10 years later and you say, why now? I think you're disgusting for even insinuating that I should have spoke out when I did not have the go to speak out. I think it's disgusting for you to insinuate that I should not have healed, that I should not have made sure that my heart was whole, that I was taking care of 2 whole children, that I had a business that I was taking care of and people that I was feeding, pouring into with my information and knowledge. And I just think it's fascinating and disgusting that you would insinuate that without me being healed and whole, that I should not speak. I'm actually really surprised because no matter when I spoke, you all were going to always have something to say. And so I just want to encourage all of you that are facing those really stupid questions like she asked to speak out no matter what. God is behind you. There are always more for you than there are against you. And unless you have the go from the Holy Ghost, you move on God's timing and you move when God says go. That's always what I've operated in, and that's always what I worked in. Many other people say, well, why are you doing this? Y'all wouldn't know a Jim Jones spirit if it slapped you in your face. And I'm sure that if those people were warned about Jim Jones, they would still be alive. I am warning you that there is something more sinister going on in there that you may not know about, because I was friends with them on the inside. I was also told by a very seasoned prophet who is older in her 60s, y'all, that the apostle told her that I was going around saying on my live that he had molested me. This is a woman of God that I would say many of you respect. So I knew she wasn't lying. And she told me that he said that he molested me. My response to her was, number one, at this age, I don't consider that molestation. I consider that rape or anything inappropriate. Number two, I would have fought him. Like literally, I think I could beat him up. I would have fist fought him. You're not getting ready to put your hands on me in a sexual way and we not fist fight. Number 3, what I told her is I don't think he likes women. So that's also out of the question. And number 4, to answer your question, the door was open when we met. We've never had any inappropriate situation. He never looked at me inappropriately. He has never touched me inappropriately. I don't have that testimony. I have never heard anybody that has had that testimony. That is not anything that I've ever insinuated, said, or anything like that. I don't play around with molestation. I take that incredibly seriously. And it was also told to another prophet. He told the other prophet she's going around telling people I molested her, and that was just not true. So I'm not sure who told her that, but I also think that it was the chief. I would also like for you all to know that he asked to meet with me 4 times over the summer of 2018. Now you may say, Tiffany, I want to know why you didn't meet with him. How did he ask to meet with you? Listen. As I said before, my dreams are incredibly accurate. Almost a year to the date, I had a dream, and we were in a picnic activity. Everybody was playing games in the picnic activity. There was a big projector screen, and I was there to meet the apostle. Now, at the time I'm having this dream, I'm still in the church, so I don't think the dream applies to me. Now I understand what it is. It's a picnic. Everybody's playing games at the picnic. It's a big projector screen. I'm going to meet with the apostle. Before he meets with me, he takes a picture with me and he puts it on the projector screen. I then say to him, take my picture off. We did not have a meeting. I don't want anybody to think that we are good. Take it off before we talk. I woke up out of the dream. So I now understand that there's a lot of opportunities that he lost because of what he did on that live. A lot of connections that he was interested in making, he lost because of that live. A lot of members left his church because of that live. If I'm not mistaken, they have not been able to raise $1 million yet because of that live. Because he put his mouth on my conference. His conference did not do well the month after that because of what he did to me. Because touch not mine anointed, do my prophet no harm does not just go for the ones you love, but it also goes for ones like me who are called to stand against systems and structures. And I never talked about any of his stuff. I never talked about his conference. I ain't talk about, I just moved on with my life. So I go to God. I say, God, you have given me the heart of reconciliation. I am happy to meet with him, but I have a strong feeling that he's only trying to meet with me because there's this one pastor that he's trying to meet with that won't meet with him. And he's under the impression that because of what he said to me, this pastor will not meet with him. So he thinks because of meeting with me, it was going to close the gap with this pastor. I also had the dream that came back up in my spirit that he was going to do the same thing that he did with the pastor in South Carolina, that he was going to use this as an opportunity to show the world that we were back on good terms. Because again, so much was happening. So I went into a fast. I fasted for 14 days over the summer of July 2018. I said, God, whatever you tell me to do. Why did I fast for long? Because I knew that whatever I decided to do was not just going to affect me. It was going to affect the people that followed me. It was going to affect all of that. And I didn't want to go against God. So the last day of my fast, I get a text message from somebody that don't know anything about it. And she said, I just want to warn you that word on the street is Apostle is trying to meet with you so that he can get in contact with that pastor. I shared it with maybe 1 or 2 people, but I did not share it with her. And she sent me that text message and I said, that is the word of the Lord. I am definitely finna not have this meeting. So I didn't have the meeting. And after I did not have the meeting, I went back to being wicked. I went back to being not a good person. I went back to being all these things that it was said that I wasn't during the meeting. He said that he wished I stuck it out, the hazing process at the church. And I was like, I know what an abusive relationship is when I see it. Let me get out of here. So my tenure there was only 5 months, y'all. It was not a whole lot of time. That's what happened. The story is as exhausting as it sounded. It was exhausting when it happened. It was as dumb as it sounded. But that's what it was. You know what I'm saying? Now, my testimony is no different than a whole lot of other people that have left that church. They have the same testimony, y'all. It is a spirit of seduction. It is something going on in there. There's a lot of confusion in the church, a lot of perversion in the church. And I'm sure you're like, Tiffany, well, you need to expose everybody. I don't know what everybody else is doing. You know what I'm saying? I didn't come out of the church. And that's another thing. I know a lot of you were born and raised in church. I wasn't. And so there's not a lot of unlearning I have to do in regards to saying something about something. Like, I don't really care. Like, it's not too much you can do to me. You can't stop my money. Like, you can't stop what God told me to do. It is what it is. That's between God and I. If you feel like I shouldn't have done it, pray for me. Keep me and my children covered in prayer. I appreciate it and all of that stuff. So that is the reason why I don't share with anybody what church I go to anymore. I keep that to myself. And I just, I let people find their own church. All of that happened, Taylor, from December 2016 to May 2017. It was literally 5 months. That was it. And we are walking on 2 years to the date. And I wanted to share the story because, as you can see in the comments of the post that I made, everybody is saying just a whole lot of stuff that they didn't know about. And if you really listen, I didn't really do nothing wrong. I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't do anything wrong. I did everything integral. I did everything honorably, even by sending an email, because I couldn't tell the pastor I was not going to be a member anymore. He said he wasn't going to meet with me. So I had to send an email saying, thank you for your time here. I no longer like to be a member of this church. And instead of him leaning on Matthew 18, he went and did a live and exposed and uncovered everything that I had shared with him. I think it's strange that he won't uncover and expose anything that everybody that's close to him is going through. He seems to keep those guys incredibly covered in whatever they're going through. And he seems to really be hard towards the women. And I'm not sure why, but that is what it is. So that's all. Anything else I should add? Because I'm not really talking about this too much after this. I'm done with the story. Now, why am I saying this? I don't know. I felt like God led me to share this story. All of that great stuff. All of that. Well, Isaiah, they were doing it before I did the live. So that's fine. I think what this is going to do is actually shut a whole lot of them up because, man, they got a lot going on in there. Again, one of my best friends was the executive administrator of the one in Atlanta. One of my other best friends worked side by side with the woman in Baltimore. It's not too much they can say, It is what it is. That's what happened. And I just want to even say, y'all all owe the intercessor, who is my friend, an apology for what you did to her. You owe her an apology. I'm good without the apology because I don't even want it. But I think that you all owe her an apology. You have no idea what happened. You took sides without taking sides. And I think you need to repent for making that man and that chief a golden calf and an idol in your life. What you did to her was wrong. She did nothing wrong. The only thing that we are guilty of is covering one another in friendship and not dropping one another like everybody wanted us to do. I covered her and she covered me. When I first moved there and that lady told me not to be her friend, I said, I'm not going to listen to it. And I said, why is she still in leadership? And she said, we're getting ready to take care of that. There was always an assignment to kill that intercessor out of that church by the chief prophetess. Why? Because the chief prophetess teaches people how to honor her. She wants people to know who she is. She wants people to follow her. And because the intercessor has the heart of the people, she is a pure prophet. She loves God. She prays all day long. She is still one of my best friends. She has the heart of the people. The chief prophetess was jealous of that and tried to kill her. And because I'm not from the church, I was like, well, that's dumb. And I'm not finna not be friends with her or the other one that you told me was loud and ghetto. And so, yeah, I'm gonna still be her friend. And so I think that you all owe prophetess intercessor a really big apology for what you did, because what happened to her and what y'all are doing to her in that ministry is wrong. It's wrong. It's wrong. I would not fit into their mold. I didn't fit into the assignment that they wanted me to complete. I wasn't a puppet, and I had my own money. And so there was a lot of things that happened. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, this was spiritual abuse on a whole nother level, and I didn't really appreciate it. Why do people who leave a ministry have to cause or make noise when they're leaving? Kiss, it sounds like you don't read your Bible, sweets. I think you should go and just check out whenever you get some time. Just go and tread in your Bible sometime. But one thing I've noticed is that Christians are not really filled with the Holy Ghost, and that they don't spend a lot of time in the Word. And that comment lets me know that there's not too much time that you spent in the Word of God. Yeah, Prophet Joseph says dishonorable people don't know how to handle people of honor, and that's a fact. How do you get out of a cult? You just got to get up and leave, but understand there's a level of therapy that you're going to need after you get out of that cult. There's a level of mind control that happens. There's a level of spiritual seduction that happens in your mind. There's a level of all of that. All of that. I literally went there to learn about the prophetic, and guess what I learned? Everything about the prophetic. If I didn't know anything about the administration of a prophet then, I learned it in that house when they tried to kill me in it. I learned how to fast, pray. I learned it all then. I did not think that my training was going to come like that. And many of you remember me sharing before I moved that God told me that it was going to be a destiny altering move. I thought it was going to be a destiny altering move in more of a positive way. What I found out was it wasn't what I thought. But it was, in fact, a destiny altering move. And it literally catapulted me into the ministry that I have. You know? Shantae says, what happened to the money that was raised? I think the members of this church should ask them what happened to the money that was raised. I think that you all have a right to know. And I think that you should bring that to their attention. I think that you should start to ask what happened to the money that was raised in 2017. I think that those are some questions that you should start demanding the answer to. Somebody says, sis, if God led you, apparently it wasn't God, it was the people. Not true also. Obviously, there were some things that he needed exposed, and apparently I'm the only one that's going to do it out loud. Everybody else is too afraid, and they're like, you know what, I'm going to just go on about my life and just live life like it's golden. So, again, girl, just check out the Bible whenever you get a chance. You know what I'm saying? That's it. So anyway, again, guys, I appreciate your time. I know a lot of people are saying negative things, but I've been called worse by better. It's all good. I can pack the punch. It's all good. I don't really feel it because God is like covering me in so many areas. I believe that what I did, I was led by God to do. I believe that I am in the boundary of God's safety in regards to what I have done. And that's that. I pray that those of you that had ears to hear, you take heed to it. I pray that this sounds the alarm as a warning. I cried loud. I spared not. And there are church mothers in that cult. Yep. And one of them in particular that I absolutely loved, I don't know if she's still there, but I absolutely loved her. In the midst of all of that, it was my last time going to the miracle training. And me and her partnered up. Old woman, beautiful, salt and pepper hair. And she says, what do you need healing from? And I said, I'm being falsely accused of something, but I don't know what to do. And she said, the word of the Lord is, God has revealed to me that they're the two prophets, right? The chief is jealous of what is going on with the intercessor, just your friendship. And they're coming after you. She said, but God is going to vindicate you. Now, this happened the day before the meeting. So I'm not sure what they're doing. Ariel says, why is gay people coming to church bad? I think it's beautiful. I think what's bad is when they're married and they're not telling their wives that is what they're into. That's the only thing I have against it. I think that's the ministry is specifically, the majority of the people are homosexuals. I think that it's beautiful that they're in ministry. I'm not joking. I hope y'all can sense that I'm not being sarcastic. I think that's beautiful. I think what my issue is that if you're going to live that life, you should then live it and not do it in a lie, so that's what my issue is. Yeah, Royal Queen says, I can tell you study. That's why it's so important that we study the word. Yeah, thank you. I joined the ministry December 2016. I demembered myself May 2017. Thank you, Antonio. Thank you, Jen. Love you guys. Okay, so I love y'all. It is what it is. Let's see. Y'all keep me and my kids covered in prayer. I appreciate you. Oh, I don't know if he's having sex with other pastors in his church. God didn't tell me that, so I'm not sure. If you go and read my other posts, I was pretty specific about what I was talking about, but God has never told me that. So I don't even want you to insinuate that that's something God said. I don't even want that that to be out there. God has never said that to me. However, some other things going in there that y'all should know about. Anyway, cover me in prayer. Cover my children in prayer. I love you a lot. Thank you for your time. I'm pretty much done with this. I feel the burden of the Lord that I have had for the last 2 years about that place has lifted off of me. And so I'm good on this end. Thank y'all very much. Goodbye.